This is my review of the Sea Level 2 tank monitor, the 709 series. There's another series, the 709 PH, which has control for gas stoves and things like that, which I don't have. This is installed on a sailboat, a 1986 Catalina 30 tall rig with the bowsprit. This is the control panel for the tank level monitor. I don't currently have it mounted properly, just have it temporarily as I hooked it up to see if it works. What's unique about this tank monitor is the way that the sensors work. Traditional tank monitoring systems have little diodes or little electrically conducting metal prongs that you would drill into the tank, and there'd be 3 of them, and as the water completed a circuit between one and the other, it would give you a level. Now usually there was 3, so you could see 3 levels of the tank. You'd see, you know, full, half full, empty. Sometimes there'd be 1 extra, so you'd see full, quarter, half, almost empty, and then empty. But you never saw anything in between. Of course, it meant that you had to either have the tanks already with the holes drilled in them, which was fine, but if you wanted to retrofit like myself, it means you'd have to drill holes. They're notoriously bad for the gray water system, so your sewage system. Very rarely apparently would read accurately because of the particulate in the tank. Even when the level went below one of the sensors, there would still be enough to conduct electricity, so it would still show as full. It wouldn't show your levels going down. And it would only really let you know, it would go from half to full in one step, or 75% full in one step, so you could never utilize the full range of your tanks. What's unique about these is they use a printed circuit board that just sticks on the outside, and it measures it much more in percentages and is much more sensitive. This is a picture of one of the printed circuit boards. I'll show you the actual ones in a moment. And the height of your tank determines how long the printed circuit board is. So you see the arrows here. These are points that you can cut them if your tank is a little bit smaller. And when you cut a piece off, that becomes the new 100% full point from the top to the bottom. So they can measure a fairly small tank. On the Catalina 30, the tanks are a little bit tricky to get at, and that's the other reason why I liked this. They're glassed in from all sides, so you can't easily get access to the sides, at least on the port side or starboard side freshwater tank, and then on the port side holding tank. So what I had to do was cut this loose, bend it out enough to get the sensor in place, and then I'll just re-glass that back in. So that's the one on that freshwater tank. This is the forward freshwater tank. It's a little darker. That one was easy to get to. And then there's the holding tank. And then there's the holding tank on the side, which I won't bother opening up, but it's set up the same way as this. One of the really nice things about this setup is the wire that connects them is run just as one continuous wire. So what that means is there's a positive and a negative starting there, and that one wire, you then splice the positive and negative from this tank into those 2 positive and negative wires and keep running it around the boat, and then splice in the positive and negative here. So you don't have to run a separate wire, like you don't have to run 2 wires from that tank, 2 wires from that tank, and 2 wires from this tank to the monitoring unit. They can all be run on the same 2 wires. You just splice them in, and based on how you cut the sensor, it will determine what type of tank it is. Let's see if we can get focused here. So you can see there's a tab for gray, black, and if you don't cut anything, it's the fresh. So if you don't cut anything, that one will be your fresh. If you cut the gray one, that's your gray tank. If you cut the black, that's your black tank. I have 2 fresh and 1 black, so I'll have to relabel these to be a little bit more accurate. Now my holding tank is empty, and the tank in the quarter berth is empty, but right now the freshwater tank is 100% full. So I will show you. We'll come over here to the tap, turn the water on, let it run for a little bit. Now the tank in the front is a little taller than the sensor. So it will stay 100% a little longer than it will go through the other levels. I have it set up so it'll read sort of the, and same with the empty. It'll show 0 and there'll be a tiny little bit left in the bottom, but it sort of gives you, you know, a little bit of emergency capacity if you need it. Alright, now you can start to see the level going down. It usually drops in, you know, 3 to 4 to 5% increments. It went from 100 to 97, now down to, and it'll sort of bounce the, I'm on a more, the boat's moving a little bit as other boats pass, so that's affecting the accuracy a little, but it'll drop in 5-ish% increments. You'll see it slip between 97 and 94, and it'll go to 94, and then probably 94 and 89. So it gives you a much wider range. We'll let it run here just for a second to see it drop down another increment as it sort of settles into 94% full. You'll see it start to flicker as it goes down, okay, to 91, to 91 and 94, and then it'll settle off at 91 after sort of flashing through it for a little bit. It seems to be very accurate, very handy, because it gives you a percentage and gives you a much better idea. It doesn't have 3 or 4 points of your tank levels, especially for your wastewater tank. That's very helpful, because you don't want to overflow it. You want to know when you have to. Now the motion of the boat rocking back and forth is causing it to adjust a little bit, but there's also the black tank, which right now is empty. If you press it once, it will just show you the level briefly and then flash away, and if you press it again, it'll add a little dot and it'll hold it up for 5 minutes. The tank in the front, why I had to run it a little bit longer, is because it's a very high tank. It's in the V-berth. It's actually higher than the sensor can measure. So you can actually stack these sensors. You could buy another sensor and add more height and wire them together. But because it was only a little bit taller, 10% on either end, I just sort of centered it. So when it's 100%, it's actually 110%, so it won't hit 100. It won't go below 100 right away. And when it shows 0, you've actually got 10% of tank left. For me, it was fine. It wasn't worth cutting up one of these sensors to gain that small extra percent. For the price and for the quality and for the ease of installation, it's great. I had looked over the years for my previous boat for something like this, and there were systems that would knock on the side, and they're all very expensive, and this one was quite affordable. Manufactured in my own country too, which is kind of interesting. It's made in Canada, which you don't see often. Although ironically, I bought it from the U.S. before I realized it was made in Canada. But I would highly recommend this for a boat. It works great, easy to install, very accurate, and quite affordable, surprisingly affordable, especially for retrofitting an existing boat and or RV where you don't have easy access, you don't want to run a lot of wires, and you want a nice, accurate system. The electrical draw is very minor. I'll turn everything off here on my... Oh, it's going to be hard to see what the electrical draw is because I'm getting a charge from my solar panel. I guess we can do the difference. So right now my solar's putting in 1 amp, but it's only doing 0.9 of an actual charge. So it's using 0.1 amps while powered on. So it's very light usage, and when we turn it off, we should see, oh, now we're doing 0.9 and 0.9. So there's a little bit of a cloud. So it has balanced out. Let's